We've got a lot of wisdom on the set right now to calculate all the probabilities of what might happen. We have CNN senior political commentator David Axelrod, CNN chief political analyst Gloria Borger, and CNN chief national correspondent John King. David, let me start with you. You were with Mr. Obama, then Senator Obama, President Obama now, of course, preparing to debate Hillary Clinton. She's a pretty good debater.
Oh, very good. She's polished, she's crisp, she's very fluent in issues. I don't think that's the challenge for her. The challenge for her is to take all of these policies, some of which she's adopted recently, and weave them together into something coherent and something believable that people can hang on to. That is the challenge for her in this debate.
John, you heard David just allude to some of these positions that she's taken on recently, which is a polite way of suggesting that she has veered to the left on a lot of issues, including on a Pacific trade deal that she helped write, let's be honest. It was her baby, and now she's distanced herself from it.
It was the gold standard, and now it's not what she thought it would be or should be. She's going for platinum. Maybe she's going for platinum here in Vegas. Look, that's one lesson of 2008 when Mr. Axelrod and Senator Obama beat her. She is now protecting her left flank. So on a number of issues, she has moved left. And so the challenge will be when Bernie Sanders doesn't attack her personally, but says consistency should matter. She's going to say her experience matters, that she has a great diversity in public service, more so than anyone else at this stage. There's no Donald Trump on this stage. There's no Carly Fiorina. There's no Ben Carson. These are all people who have held political office. So you don't have the outsider dynamic that you have in the Republican race. So she wants to say, my experience prepares me to be the better president. She's hoping her answers say that, and just the optics say that. She wants to look more presidential, but her consistency, what she will call evolutions. Some of her rivals, I suspect, are going to call them political flip-flops.
Yeah, what's going on in the Democratic Party is different to me, because these candidates have clearly made the calculation, particularly Hillary Clinton, because you talk about her changing positions. She's made the calculation that moving to the left is not going to hurt her if she becomes a nominee in a general election. And I think it's because she wants to get the Obama coalition behind her, and she feels that maybe she needs to move to the left to do that because that's where the primary voters are. But we're not used to seeing this. I mean, remember Mitt Romney and the Republican Party moved so far to the right on immigration, it hurt him in the general. Well, Democrats are now saying moving towards the base is not going to hurt them in the general.
I think part of the reason, Gloria, is because the country has moved, and I don't think there's one position she's taken that is on the unpopular side of a general election campaign. I don't think the country is all that enthused about trade. This is not a new development. And on all the other issues she's taken, you know, I said the other day that flip-flopping, if that's what they are, is less egregious if you flop over onto the popular side.
But you point out that it could be seen as a character issue.
Yeah.
And that's the risk.
And that's the risk.
But not with Democrats. Democrats trust her. 68% of Democrats find Hillary Clinton trustworthy.
I think no doubt, but I mean for the general election.
Yeah, for
independent voters, I think that's a question she's going to have to answer, and that's why I think it's important that she have solid answers tonight about these positions that don't sound like they're made for the moment.
Let me ask you a question. Hillary Clinton, obviously a trailblazing figure. She would be the first major party nominee who is a woman, first president if she wins, who's a female. Is there a risk, and I ask you this because you coached then Senator Obama, in a man attacking a woman?
Well, she went through that in 2000, and I was actually working for her in that Senate race, and her opponent got overly aggressive.
Rick Lazio.
In that race. I don't think, I mean, and we had in the New Hampshire debate, if you'll remember, in 2008, when the subject of her likability came up, and Obama sort of threw off, "You're likable enough, Hillary," and that really hurt us. So there is an element of that. But I will say this, if there's a toughness barometer of the candidates on the stage, I think she'd be right at the top.
Oh, no, she's the toughest candidate on the stage, no question. But, like, could it backfire against a male candidate to be seen as Lazio was?
It's more likely to backfire because, as Gloria points out, she's a very popular figure among Democrats. And I think you have to be very careful about how you attack when you're attacking someone who is broadly liked and admired among members of your own party.
And how she handles it. I mean, she handled then candidate Obama when he, you know, she said, "You hurt my feelings" to the questioner when he said, "You're not likable," and then Obama said, "You're not likable enough," and that was a bad moment for Obama.
I can tell you, having been in the green room watching that with the Obama people, there was a collective groan when that happened.
Right, so if she handles it with humor,
and yet,
it'd be good.
And yet, if you're O'Malley, or even more so, Webb or Chafee, and you're trying to become a viable player in this race, the only way to do that is not most likely not through some confrontation with Bernie Sanders, right? It's most likely through some sort of an exchange with Hillary Clinton. So how they manage that, how do they have a confrontation with her that is about an issue or about her character or about her consistency without going over the line, I think is the great challenge for the other people in this debate who will be a factor. Whether their poll numbers move an ounce after this debate or not, they will be players too because they're desperate.
They're desperate. They need something to happen. They need some traction.
I know the name Martin O'Malley is not top of mind as we think about this debate, but he actually has, I think, the toughest challenge because he began as the likely alternative to Hillary Clinton, been completely eclipsed by Bernie Sanders, and now he's on the edge of extinction, and he has to perform well in this debate. And so he has to confront the question you raised, which is, how aggressive should I be? How do I posit myself as an alternative? One way may be to be the generational candidate, to be the younger generation candidate. You've got a 74-year-old in Sanders, a 67-year-old in Clinton. He's a younger candidate. He may make that new generation appeal.
All right, David Axelrod, John King, Gloria Borger, thanks so much.